It stands for Regulation Crowdfunding. And what it is, the SEC put together this plan after the Great Recession back in 2008, 2009, where we were bailing out Wall Street, the big bailouts, too big to fail. So we're bailing out huge banks like Bank of America, we're bailing out Ford Motor Company, et cetera, while the little guys on Main Street are closing their doors. Oh, well. And there was so much backlash that initially under the Obama administration, they created this Reg CF plan. And it was so popular and it worked so well that under Trump, they doubled down on it and expanded the program. And what it does is it allows the average retail investor like you and me to be able to invest in pre-IPO companies, basically buy shares of companies.
Welcome to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I am so excited that you're joining us here tonight. As you know, cannabis cultivators are the superstars of our industry, and there's nothing more valuable than to have that one-on-one time with them, to ask them about their tips and techniques, and just to hear their stories. I feel that makes the community so much stronger. So I'm so excited to share that we have two phenomenal hemp cultivators here tonight on the show to speak with us. And our first, I've got to bring in Matt. It's Matt Haddad of Trilogene Seeds. Trilogene is a team of award-winning breeders and growers creating feminized hemp seeds for extraction efficient, tri-crop, and smokable hemp varieties. Their goal is to stabilize their catalog of elite hemp genetics across every photoperiod in microclimate in the world, leveraging the most cutting-edge genomic technologies. Matt Haddad, welcome to Calling All Growers.
Thank you. Thank you for that awesome introduction. Pleasure to be here. Liz, you rock. Thank you for putting that up on a beautiful pedestal.
Oh, absolutely. Where it should be, it's when you're in service of the plant, it just feels good. And there's nowhere else that I've seen that spirit or felt that spirit more than with hemp farmers. Nowhere else. And so it's kind of like I'm addicted, I'm a groupie. I'm a hemp farmer groupie. So
it's a lot of fun, great community, awesome people for sure. And we're grateful to be a part of it for sure.
Yeah. So where are you joining us from tonight?
Colorado. We are actually in my backyard here in Longmont, Colorado. Licensed hemp farm, as you can see behind you. A few plants, not a ton, but here we are.
How many hemp plants is a few? Because I'm jealous, man. I'm like, what? You've got like a jungle back there.
I'd say this is about half of it behind me and then this way. So I'd say like 200.
Wow. Oh my God, 200. And what are you growing?
So these are actually a variety of different genetics, which is an awesome opportunity to explain some differences and stuff. But there's fiber dominant cultivars, ones for outdoor performance that are really high yielders, really high and vigorous varieties, ones for smokable, extraction efficiency, minor cannabinoids. This is a bit of a playground right now, to be honest. And I love it because each plant is different and you can just clearly see the expressions. And, you know, we're about 2 months away here from being more into the flower cycle. So I'm stoked. It's around the corner.
Oh my God. So it's like, is that kind of like your lab? And you can try out different genetics and.
You know, this is one location. Honestly, we do lab tests with different universities at our facility
right.
all types of stuff. But this is, of course, you got to always grow what you make, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I was just really thinking more of like along the lines of this is you're like the mad scientist, you know, back there, like just having fun and just, you know, being close to the plant. You know, it's not about business, it's about, you know, discovery and then, you know, making your backyard so beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good time, you know. I mean, especially you have to do that office stuff sometimes. This is such a good escape, you know, to just break away and release your mind and have some fun and look at these girls do their thing.
That's right. Oh, God, I love it. So when did your love affair with hemp begin? Tell me your story.
You know, so it really started with THC. I was really on the THC side prior to CBD, and there was just such a hole of what was happening in the hemp space. There wasn't good varieties that were stabilized. People weren't growing feminized varieties, which is something else we were big on.
Right.
It really just started to evolve. So now there's so many different markets open where depending on where you're growing and what you're growing for will completely dictate what we recommend, you know. So I think it's a lot about diversifying your genetics and understanding those photoperiods, those microclimates, what local pests you have to deal with, and ultimately what's your end use, right? Are you a smokable flower company for indoor production? Then focus on those varieties. You know, I think sometimes too many people try to get too cute. We're just getting to the basics, and running cultivars that perform well in those environments is what to do.
Absolutely. You know, it's unfortunate that there's just, I mean, it's just such a booming industry, cannabis cultivation in general, that so much attention is paid to everything else. And certainly, if you know, I mean, it's all about the genetics, but if you're just getting into it, you know, it's all about the genetics, but also there's a temptation to just maybe not give too much of a fuck and, you know, focus on your grow environment, man. And, you know, focus on what you're feeding your plant and all these things, but it's just like the seeds, you know?
That's where it starts. You know, some varieties need a lot less water. And honestly, what one of the biggest challenges when you're growing so many different varieties is you can't have them on just one nutrition program unless you're doing organics. Thank God I love Living Soil Organics. That's how I cultivate. But when you're growing with fertilizers and salts, it's really difficult to maintain a lot of different diversity because they need different things.
Right. So, you know, that was going to be one of my questions. So do you make recommendations to farmers, even down to the level of where and how they're growing the plant?
Absolutely. Those are honestly the two biggest questions we always ask is where are you growing and what are you growing for? And based on those responses, we can kind of reverse engineer filters, if you will, that will remove certain varieties from our recommendations and make sure that they end up with ones that they're going to start off on a good foot. And sometimes people don't know exactly what that is. They're looking for our guidance to say where the market is and what's popular. And I know like my company, we have a buyback program. So we try to have a good pulse on what people want and like, because that's what people should be growing, right?
Right. Okay. Wow. And so do you even get down to the level of, you know, hey, this is the type of soil, or this, you know, if you're growing aquaponic, this is, I guess you don't do that. I mean, I just, it's really kind of like my mind is blown, I think, at what level you can get to control the outcome, you know? So how deep do you get?
Well, we can get pretty deep. And I think that's one of the complex parts is growers come to us from all different shapes and sizes that have already ideas of how they want to cultivate, or maybe they were cultivating a different crop the same way. So that's one of the cool opportunities is there's such a diversity of ways to cultivate that there's no one size fits all. There's no right answer all the time. Creativity in the garden is one of the best things you can bring, regardless of what some people might think, you know.
Yeah. So, what would you say? I'm thinking just about your seed inventory in general, your genetics catalog, right? How old or how stable is your most stable seed? Like, who's your girl?
You know, so this is actually pretty crazy and pretty exclusive. So the one right behind us is called Ultra Pink, and it right now is our baby. And what these are behind us are actually mutant plants, something we did called mutagenesis, where you explode genetic diversity within the population and see what you can find, and doing it as a way to phenohunt. It's a different approach. It's a way that soybean breeders have previously found unique varieties. But it's one thing we're doing right now, and this is one of the experimental gardens. I think you all are the first ones to see it, actually. So
What?
yeah,
God, that's mind blowing. I just love the way she looks. I mean, she's outstanding.
she's perky. You know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
upskirt. I can show you guys the upskirt shot. You can see a lot of different.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's see if that skirt, the leaves are nice and beefy, but not too beefy. You know,
Let's see if we
it's
can
kind
get
of
this.
a perfect size leaf, fan leaf. Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, so this is right
I want
down.
to smell. I want this to be smell-o-vision so badly.
But this one is my baby right now. This is one monster plant, and the
What?
thing is just massive. Let's see if
What?
I can pull a fan leaf down here.
Wow. What strain is that?
Um, so this is actually a 4-to-1 CBD THC cultivar that we're in the process of just trying out. This is our first time flowering it out, but it's a Gary Payton GG4 cross
Oh,
to cross the Ultra Pink, this one right here. So we're looking
wow.
to trying her out, but
That is so beautiful. Oh my God. Okay, so and I have this in big, like I have this in bold in my notes, but I totally blew it. It's not a strain, isn't it? It's a cultivar if it's THC and a chemovar if it's hemp, or is that just
um
do people use chemovar?
it's different ways to say it, right? Like chemotype and chemovar is really the effect, right? Like especially if you're looking at it, how it affects you, it's how do you feel after. So chemotypes are affiliated with that, where you're right, strain is not proper. That's more in reference to bacteria and fungi and things like that. But
Yeah.
cultivar, variety, that's usually what we say. Seed, genetic. Yeah, it's really it's crazy what the industry has done, especially even on the THC space. And I don't want to see the same thing happen to the hemp space is by crossing heterozygous lines and varieties just to try to find the flavor of the month
Mhm.
has actually killed genetic diversity, and it's made it narrower where you don't
Yes.
get as much as what you want. So there's a lot of education and misrepresentation of what's going on that I feel it's really important.
I'm really glad you said something about that. Our guest last month, Breeder Greg OG, this Ozarks cultivator, just wealth of knowledge. That's a real conversation, hot topic for him. Just how we are putting these genetics at risk, these sacred genetics, if you want to get hippie about it, which I do inevitably. But what's wrong with that? I think, wow, we're killing them just for this rush to explore. It's like, we're just trampling over what's already there. Sometimes that's what it feels like. And it's like to our detriment. We need a stable genetic line to produce what we intend to produce. I mean, it's a crop at the end of the day, but
Absolutely. And it being shared just all over the country and really
yes.
coming from a lot of different directions has spread a lot of diseases and hop latent virus. And these things are really going to be, people don't realize how difficult of a battle it really is going to be to reverse the damage that is currently being done. So
Okay.
something has its place, but this is why we believe in seed. If you're producing in an environment that's free of pathogens and pests, those seeds, as long as they're dried and cured and processed the right way, are always going to be high quality. You're never going to have inherent pests. And you start from a clean slate where cloning is dangerous in that regard and is primarily how diseases are kind of being spread. And, that's where tissue culture really comes in and can play a huge role for pathogen indexing and really cleaning up plants to make sure we maintain that stock and maintain those genetics, but it's clean and it's not giving people diseases, right?
This is so fascinating. It makes me think that, so many new growers have no idea that they could be contributing to this problem. So what, would you tell them? How could they not do that?
I would say one of the things people forget to do is when you receive plants from somebody else, if you purchase them from somebody, always quarantine them and always clean them. There's a series of different things to do. Hydrogen peroxide dips, for example, are popular. There's different ways to kind of sterilize the plants, and obviously different pesticides use and organic applications you can use. But make sure you quarantine before you enter them in your garden, because that can spread like crazy. And, there's been a lot of big commercial facilities and greenhouses who have propagated and ran different varieties, and they have different flowers and geraniums and poinsettias that they manage, and they bring in cuts and clones from different parts of South America. And, those aren't trained properly. So
right.
You never know where it's coming from. And you always got to look out for pests in the garden for sure.
And that's what it's, that's why I think this conversation is just so germane. Haha, no pun intended. That was a really nerdy one. Because, I'm in Texas, and not to make it all about Texas or prohibition, but, it feels like our cultivators, whether they're growing hemp or they are growing, they shouldn't be growing THC, but they do because it's our medicine.
Sure.
They're at every turn, they're just, being attacked. And so the methods that are being used to cultivate and how we're getting our clones and things like that, I think, are, certainly underground and not the safest and cleanest. So all of your advice is just, it's a blessing, I think, to my Texas growers. Keep it about the seed. So right now, go ahead.
And there are, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there are American breeders out there where you can get good seeds, and you got to just get them from reputable sources that people have reputations, and you can ask them for compliance documents in some cases in medical states where it's required, because a seed is a seed, as you mentioned. I mean, it doesn't have more than 0.3% THC. It is your medicine, and there is a opportunity for people from all different states to get seeds from places like Colorado, for example.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but, it's important, though, to note that if a seed does well in Colorado, it might not necessarily do well in Texas. However, if it's a strong, just genetic line, if it's stable, it's going to do well. So
and that's where things like phenotypic variation has plagued this industry, where the industry was new and didn't really know what it was doing, and the commercial demand for seed was really high, to the point where breeders were putting out lines that were F1s and were basically heterozygous, where they haven't been stabilized, where you'll see some good expression in an area like Texas for a genetic that does well in Colorado, but it'll be phenotypic dependent. So I think there's been opportunity in that for us to collaborate with farmers, like let's say in Texas, to say, hey, what did you find out there? And they said, hey, this phenotype was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Let's get a cut of it. Let's bring it in-house. Let's start to stabilize it for that region. It's a big task of what we want to do and have been doing. And it's little by little, it's very slow progress, but over a long period of time, we believe we'll have a really strong catalog that'll be tailored to farmers in their regions.
I love that so much. So how many cultivars do you have in the catalog right now?
Right now, there's about 60 different varieties that we've released. We have discontinued some since 2016, since we really started. But right now on our website, there's at least 45 available in stock right now. And we sell all over the country. So you can really go right to our website, go to trilogeneseeds.com, place an order, swipe your credit card. It's shipped out the next day. Even 10 packs, just growers who want to try 10 seeds, you have a big setup. No problem. That's
just, it's so cool to know, there's just we're so close to great plants, but we don't think about it. I think it's hard for new growers to think of themselves maybe even really worthy to go to like such an awesome, provider of genetics. Maybe they just want to practice, but why wouldn't they practice with the best? I mean, give yourself the best shot. That's what I'm pumping myself up right now, obviously, because I haven't grown, but I'm really excited to, and I've got some stuff that I want to, got some seeds.
Let me make sure we definitely get you something after the show. And at this point, I don't know exactly where you are in Texas, but some autos might be a good opportunity right now. I don't know if you grant them. We have some really amazing autos. But yeah, it's super important. However, we can kind of support and help people out.
Absolutely.
The one thing I will say too with elite cuts sometimes is it really takes a grower who knows what they're doing to give it the proper care, especially when it comes to micronutrients and being able to really dial in that environment for that plant. But that takes time, like anything else,
Absolutely. And it feels to me like you are a, partner in the growing. You don't just sell the seeds and go away.
No, I don't need to. And I think that's one of the best parts about this industry is I could actually be who I am and be open about how I use this plant medically and how we could actually spread that to different people all over the world. I think we've exported to like 35 countries now. So to be able to talk to people at different times of the night on WhatsApp and see their progress and see their grows perform well is awesome, because we've heard some cool stories of just helping their family members or friends to get some medicine out there.
Yeah, that's so cool. So cool. I mean, you're starting something so powerful, just from from a little seed. God, I'm sorry, it's so corny.
Yeah, we say all the time. Yeah.
But it's so true, though. It's so true. So before we jump into a little break, I did want to ask about Trilogene Seeds and the ways in which y'all are, being more sustainable or, have sustainability practices within the company, because I know a lot of growers, are watching right now who have dreams of becoming a brand. And it's important to see the big dogs talking about that important piece of it. Even if it's just, hey, we're doing what we can and we're doing X, Y, and Z. There's simple ways.
100%. I mean, the way that we really cultivate is living soil organics. Even if it's indoor, it's cultivated the exact same way that you see behind me. We develop an environment that has high microbiology, that is always staying wet, that's building its nutrient availability at all times, to the point where actually the first run is the hardest run. And as you keep doing your implements, keep doing your amendments, your cover crops and tilling it into the soil, the earthworms eat it, they poop it out. Your soil just becomes richer and richer where almost anything can grow in it. And so to be honest, some of these beds behind me used to be in my basement downstairs with all the soil. So I built it up and did, I think, 30 something cycles with it. And now I just brought them into the backyard and everything's exploding. I'm feeding water only. Everything you see behind me is water only.
So exciting. That is so incredibly exciting.
Build your soil.
Build your soil. I mean, and it can be done indoors. We get to talk to Wendy Kornberg on the show, and she's, a big advocate in Northern California for regenerative farming up in Humboldt. And it's like, yeah, look at this land. Why would you fuck with it? You throw a seed in it and it's going to explode because your family has been there for 2 generations. But what is somebody going to do if they're growing in their basement?
Yeah. And it just takes time. Like you said, I mean, you can build that up over time. And when you're able to start from a seed and really, it's empowering to really know that you can just add amendments and add what God has been putting in here and actually harness the power of nature. And that's something we say all the time of what we're doing with genetics is we want to help harness the power of nature and use biotechnology to our advantage in an ethical way to be able to deliver things more efficient. THCV, for example, is $30,000 a kilo. To know what that could do for the sports and wellness industry and for cancer patients is unbelievable, and it's so expensive and not accessible. We want to breed stuff so that it has higher concentrations of these miners, for example, so that medicine is cheaper. And you need to harness the power of nature. It starts with your growing environment, and yeah, it's important.
I love that. God. Okay. Well, on that note, we're going to pause the conversation to hear some messages from our sponsors. But when we come back, we are going to have one of my favorite Texas hemp craft growers in the game, Dusty Doty of Orange Pistol Farms. He's going to join the conversation, and we're going to get to know his story. So stay right there. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
With the Reg CF offering that we're doing, we have basically pretty much gone through all the steps you need to do when you're doing an IPO. Now, we're not sold on the public markets, which is still considered private equity, but you basically buy shares we use the Start Engine platform, and now anybody can go and buy shares. When Facebook first launched, the banks were buying shares at $5 and $10. It IPO'd at 20. I put in a buy offer as just a random Joe retail customer. I put in a buy order the night before. Computers execute instantaneously, right? I think my buy went in at like $34 by computer execution by the time it opened, while the banks got to buy it all at $5 and $10. Well, this allows you and me to be able to buy into these pre-IPO companies at favorable rates.
Hi, everyone. I'm PCM founder Jimmy Young, and you're probably wondering, what am I doing on a growing show? After all, I'm a convicted plant killer. That's why I surround myself with these beautiful plastic babies. But now I have found the secret to all those people out there who just don't want to deal with growing a plant indoors or outdoors. You just don't have enough confidence. Hey, check out greengoddesssupply.com. That's where you'll find the Armoire system. Basically, it's growing for dummies like me. Check it out. The Armoire at greengoddesssupply.com.
It stands for Regulation Crowdfunding. And what it is, the SEC put together this plan after the Great Recession back in 2008, 2009, where we were bailing out Wall Street. The big bailouts, too big to fail. So we're bailing out huge banks like Bank of America. We're bailing out Ford Motor Company, et cetera, while the little guys on Main Street are closing their doors. Oh, well. And there was so much backlash that initially under the Obama administration, they created this Reg CF plan. And it was so popular and it worked so well that under Trump, they doubled down on it and expanded the program. And what it does is it allows the average retail investor like you and me to be able to invest in pre-IPO companies, basically buy shares of companies.
Welcome back to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and tonight I am joined by two of my favorite hemp cultivators. The first half of the show, I got to talk with Matt Haddad of Trilogene Seeds, and now we are joined by Dusty Doty. He is a craft hemp cultivator here in Central Texas and the head of cultivation of Orange Pistol Farms. Dusty, welcome to Calling All Growers.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Matt. Listened in on the first half. Got some good stuff there.
Thank you. Right on.
Yeah, so I have right out of the gate, Dusty. Did you hear anything in the first half of the show that really, that resonated with you? For instance, maybe advice to new growers or anything?
Yeah, I like the organic advice that he gives. I really think if everyone would learn that way, we'd be better off as a group of growers. I just think learning really how to have patience in the garden is a good thing.
Yeah, patience in the garden. When you're racing to get the highest THC or racing to get a product out, things just begin to fall apart. The plant does not express herself as her fullest. And so it's just great to be able to talk to cultivators who are making a name for themselves like you, Dusty, within, the hemp space, not just in Texas. I know across the country right now. But just to hear that, your, trials and tribulations through it all, it hasn't always been easy for you. So could you talk to me, talk to us, tell us a little bit about how you got started with growing?
About 15 years ago, just out of curiosity, I've always been a big fan of the plant and been passionate about the plant for a very long time. I'm almost 40 now. It's been in my life for over 25 years. It's been more in my life than it hasn't in my life. I've got a green thumb and I've always enjoyed seeing things from start to finish. So if I could do that with cannabis, started out reading Skunk Magazine and the Rev. Everybody knows who the Rev is. He's got a style called True Living Organics, which I'm pretty far away from now. But just reading that and High Times magazines and seeing all the nice, pretty frosted pictures, that'll inspire you quick enough to try to produce your own. And so a lot of it, in my younger days was just kind of underground stuff, just for me and my buddies and for fun, more or less discovering what the best methods were and just having fun with it, learning all sorts of, the morphologies and the terpene profiles and it's such a vast, there's such a vast diversity out there with this plant. It's like none other.
Yeah. And now you're doing it. This is your full-time job. You are growing this plant for your products that you manufacture through Orange Pistol Farms.
Sure. Yeah. Texas allowed us to crawl out from under our rocks a few years ago. And so, yeah, proud to be doing it. And so there's a good community here in Texas. Everybody's kind of trying their own thing. There's a lot of new growers out there too. See a lot of people getting into it and then getting quickly out of it. It's been a really tough year this year outdoors here. We're dry, heat wave. Personally, I mean, I'm seeing garden crops fail. Tomatoes just didn't blossom. They didn't put out when it's just this hot. Things are stressed. The more silica, the better. One of my favorite things to feed in the garden is fish emulsion and silica. Those two things right there. We'll keep the plant growing. Keep them going. Oh, pardon, Matt.
Oh, how hot is it getting over there? I'm curious.
Okay, man. Yeah, it's our averages right now are between 102 and 110 daily, every day. No rain. It's killing us. Grasshoppers are in full force. Yeah.
Wasps too.
So yeah, wasps. Yeah. Last year I was in greenhouses, which I thought was kind of going to be my big deal, but we struggled so hard last year. Grasshoppers would literally eat holes in my bug screen and come inside and replicate. And grasshoppers aren't like most pests. You can't really, aside from physical removal or chemical removal of grasshoppers, there's not much you can do about them. And they eat fast and they just chew things in half. And we don't use chemical means. And it was too much for just removing them one at a time. So they hit me pretty hard last year. It changed the course of Orange Pistol Farms for sure. Going indoors, a bigger space. I'm indoors now, small space, just keeping some genetics alive while I'm working on some design for a new larger indoor space in Texas.
Oh, that's exciting.
Matt has offered to reach out a little bit with some consultations.
For sure. Right there, I was going to mention, you have to be very careful with this, and it's more of a living soil controlled garden. This won't be ideal for row crop farming style, but cilantro and mint, grasshoppers hate it.
Oh, man.
So it's
Where were you last year?
It's crops right here. Yeah.
Yeah. So just companion plant, cilantro and mint.
Yeah.
Which I love both.
Oh, yeah.
You'll find a good use for both of them,
Mint's hard to get rid of. I mean, you can pull that stuff up by the handfuls and it'll be back.
That's why it's a lot better if you have a controlled bed that's isolated plant by plant or just area by area. Row crop farming, though, you're right. I mean, that's a hell of a pest to deal with. It's a hard one.
Sure. Yeah, we've always been containers. I'm going to do some living beds, some 3x6 beds on the indoor space. But aside from that, I've really only ever grown fabric pot containers and isolated kind of containers and stuff like that. So it's going to be different for me to have more than 3 or 4 plants in one root zone.
Okay, this is exciting, Dusty. Yep. I'm really happy to hear this. So are you then shopping around for new genetics?
I'm
because your scale is going to be different and the work will be different? Or are you going to stick with the old or stick with the existing?
Well, I'm going to stick with the existing because personally I selected them because of their chirping profiles. They're very unique in what they are. And so those are 2 I'll keep in my bullpen, but I'm looking for maybe 3 to 5 more. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. But yeah, as a cultivator, I think you're always looking for new genetics. I mean, I've never met anyone who was like, I'm happy with what I got, and I don't want to try anything.
So tell me, Dusty, what are your genetics right now? What makes them so special?
The green grapes is just a super grapey. It's like a grape Jolly Rancher while it grows, but then post-harvest and into the cure, it starts to take on a grapefruit profile. And there are some good high THC varieties out there that I would choose terpene-wise over this variety, but in the hemp world, it's very unique. And so that's why I like it personally, and it's marketable. So those are the 2 reasons I really hang on to it. It grows well. I mean, I like its structure. I like how it grows. It's pretty easy. I've never overfed it. So then I've got one other, the Cactus Kush, which was just a rebrand of basically a Kush MP1. And that one is a beta caryophyllene dominant variety, and that's a rarity in the hemp world. Most of it's myrcene dominant, and this one actually has, and I would have to pull up my terpene profile. I forgot the other two, but myrcene is actually fourth on the list with my Cactus Kush. So it's beta caryophyllene, two others before myrcene. So I'm not a big fan of myrcene. I mean, it's got its place medically in what I do and in my practice and in my products and things like that for certain people. But for my personal use, and I think most people's daytime use, myrcene's kind of like, it's a terpene that is sedative. You find it in hops, find it in and you get that skunky smelling IPA beer, and people think, man, that thing got me really messed up. But really, there was a lot of myrcene in there too that had something to do with that.
You're such a great terp educator. I remember the first time that I met you, it was at a conference, a wellness show, really. And there was no CBD, no hemp or cannabis, because this is small town Texas. And then I'm walking out and I see your booth, and I was blown away because it is so much about the plant and about the just the education behind the terpenes. And this is the plant in your face, smell it. I mean, bravo to you for that, Dusty.
I'm a terpene first company, really. That drives everything I do, both in the products and in the flower realm. I learned everything I know from either Raphael Mechoulam on cannabinoids, and also Dr. Ethan Russo. He's kind of the big guy that I follow, and he's the guy that taught me about terps. If you want to know anything about applying cannabis medically to just about any chronic condition, look up just YouTube Dr. Ethan Russo. The guy is he's amazing at what he's done. His list of credentials is a mile long. Ex-neurologist, just got tired of doping up kids and moved on to something more natural, and he's made it his life's work. It's pretty amazing.
So cool. So Dusty, what did the new ban on smokable hemp in Texas affect you? Were you selling jars? Were you selling eighths?
Well, I'll
potpourri.
Change that little label, not intended for smoking. Suddenly it's a jar of tea. I think really that affects most people in the putting together like Delta 8 cartridges and things of that matter. And Delta 8 is something I've never touched. I don't sell. I don't market. I don't. It's a designer cannabinoid that came about because of prohibition in Texas. Once recreational laws come in, I think Delta 8 just goes away. There's nothing that can be done with Delta 8 that I can't do with other cannabinoids. I see no reason for it. And it's caused a stir here with the smokable ban and everybody just kind of misusing the products and some mislabeling. And I'm kind of glad to see it get harder, I guess, on people who aren't doing things right, because they're making it harder on the guys that are trying to do it right. But honestly, Liz, I've got people in other states that I can still sell to. I can wholesale flower to anyone in Texas, and they're gonna. At that point, it's not a smokable product because I don't know what they're gonna do with it. They may make an oil from it, whatever, for oral uses. So my hands are kind of off the ball, so to speak, once the sale's made. So didn't really affect me much.
Okay. So what products are doing really well right now?
The ranch rub.
Tell me more.
Okay, so the ranch rub, I had a topical salve, which is coconut oil. It is beeswax, my oral tincture, shea butter, and then a couple of proprietary essential oils that I was working with Ranch Sports Medicine, who is a rodeo sports medicine team. And I sponsor a lot of pro rodeo athletes. If I can prove my products with bullfighters, with bull riders, with these rodeo guys, and it works for them with their pain and their lifestyles, then that proves that it can work for most anybody. I've got a rodeo background, used to ride bulls, and it's just kind of a way that I can stay close to the sport.
Were you the first CBD product to get into this organization?
To get as deep as it has, yes. Like the usage by the athletes, yes. There are other companies who have paid lots of money to get their name out there, but when it comes down to it and you're behind the shoots, guys are using Orange Pistol products.
Right.
Because they work. Well, the ranch rub came about because they were using my topical salve in these clinics before the rodeos, warming guys up, trying to get pain out of the muscles from the last rodeo, and the guys were requesting for more heat. So I added menthol and camphor to my topical salve and then named it for Ranch Sports Medicine. It was their idea, and I just made the product for them. So that's Ranch Rub. And Ranch Rub sells. I mean, even down at Greenleaf, Michael's best seller out of my bullpen is Ranch Rub.
I love that. I love it so much.
Not a smokable product.
I mean, yeah, it really is about a product that works for, the community and gives people what they want, which is relief. I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing, that you're growing it, you're choosing the genetics, you're growing it, you're making it, it's all done. I mean, I'm just such a supporter and want to be of a local farmer. And because this is a huge economy when you put a lot of local farmers together, we represent a big piece of the cannabis economy. You're still the apothecaries of your community, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to harp too much on the product side. I know this is a grower podcast, but I want to say that the product, there's just a sea of products out there, and the business is tough, and it's been tough, and that's why Orange Pistol and Orange Pistol Farms are gearing more towards the cultivation side of growing top shelf smokable flower. Did I say that? You can do whatever you want with it.
You said top shelf.
Tea. But yeah, so we're pushing towards that market. Personally, I love being in the garden. That's where my heart lies. That's what I want. But some of my gifts have dictated that I help people in other ways, i.e. my products and Orange Pistol. But if I can spend just more time in the garden, that's where we're headed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you have any questions for Matt about his inventory? Because I would love to see a collab. Okay. I
think you probably will. I think it's kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. I've always wanted to do breeding on my end, but it's complicated. It's not as easy as just crossing a couple of plants. I mean, I've done it, and I've fallen flat on my face several times. I've had some winners by luck, but to get it right, it's not easy. And my hat is off, Matt, to guys like you who do what you do, because I would have to it would take me another 10 years to reach your level where you're at with breeding, just starting over,
Yeah. Difficult. There's such an improper education around seeds and genetics and what breeding really is and what a pollen chucker is versus an actual breeder of stabilizing a line. Yep. Stabilizing it so it's true to type. So it's really expressing what you want to be seeing in that cross, not just one phenotype of that cross. And it is a really important thing that is overlooked. And, it's just going to take time for them to get built and stabilized enough to be in these areas, but also be having industry support that type of cultivation. As you mentioned, that the past couple of years have been a little brutal So it's more important than ever that like cultivators and seed providers and extractors and product formulators are all communicating with each other and creating a successful ecosystem for all of us to have enough. This isn't about me taking from your pie or you taking from Paul's pie. It's about making the pie big enough for all of us to thrive, you know?
Yep.
Absolutely. Truly, more than ever in this industry, a rising tide lifts all boats. When we learn together, we fail together, we win together. It's when, people, just corporate greed kind of comes in and muddies the waters a little bit. But even just understanding that that is part of the ecosystem as well. Corporate money, big money. It's a very complex industry, and which is why I love this time to spend with growers and the people doing the work. It's like, oh, thank God.
Well, I think it starts with those people, because the legacy growers, the ones that really care about the craft, if we don't work together, these corporate companies, these publicly traded companies, they'll absorb us quicker than ever,
That's right.
And you look at the beer market, at least 30% of the market still is craft beer. So there is a place for craft in the marketplace that's boutique, good quality, and not focused on pump and dump. And honestly, like what you said, like co-opetition is something we say all the time, because all tides are raising all boats, so
Yeah.
I hear you.
Good. I mean, I have a different kind of perspective on the industry as kind of an outsider looking in, like storyteller and consumer. I feel like that mindset of scarcity of customer and secrets and trade secrets. I mean, it's just so heartbreaking, because there are so many millions of people who don't really understand how miraculous this plant is and what it can do for their lives, and so it's like, well, man, there's more than enough customers out there.
And if I can, it's amazing what the progress is going to be done. And at least for medicine of the future, of what, we kind of think is going to be happening is a series of tests that you take, metabolism swab, or they get your saliva, see how you're actually metabolizing cannabinoids, psychotherapy tests to identify your chemical balance as a person, your mood, the environment you live in, epigenetics, which is always something overlooked, which basically means the environment and how it changes the chemical composition. And we know as humans, right? You put a human or someone in a really bad situation, you're going to see the worst out of them. And plants are no different than that. And epigenetics are something big that we still don't understand. And, I feel like it's going to be a really important piece of dialing in and optimizing cultivation in general.
So how can people tap into you, Matt, and what you're doing? Because, it feels like just the research is ongoing, and I know I want to continue to learn from you. So how can people find you?
So our Instagram and LinkedIn is really where we're most active, at Trilogene Seeds, on both accounts, on LinkedIn and there. We actually are launching our new website, where we're going to have a series of YouTube how-to videos showing people different random tips in the garden. It's called Growing Dank with Dan, who's our operations manager, and Minutes with Matt, where we just give high-level quick tips in the garden. So,
yes.
Yeah.
And what channel is that going to be on your LinkedIn and your Instagram?
Just Trilogene Seeds, at
yes.
Trilogene.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, will you come back? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah. I got to get you over here, hopefully, to smell some of these ladies, or at least send you some. And we'll be coming out to Texas soon. Actually, our sales manager lives in Austin. So hopefully close enough to you where we can make something happen.
Oh, yeah. That's right down the road. Please text me. I would love to get together with you in real life and make the pickup. But, I keep missing you when we go to conferences. I go to your big booths and all of your awesome people that you work with. Your team is just so cool. I just love them. I'll just hang out at the Trilogene Seeds booth. It's basically my thing. But I always miss you because you're working. You're out working.
We'll be there. I'm at the booth. I'm the first one there and last one to leave. Got to lead by example. And we'll be grateful to see you and party and smoke a joint and talk about herb all day long.
Yeah, it's good to smoke herb and talk about herb at the same time. Dusty Doty, thank you so much for joining the show. I know you in real life. not that this isn't, but I just think you're a really wonderful person in general, and you're doing big things for hemp in Texas, and I'm just proud of you, buddy, and I'm grateful that you came on. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate you.
How can people find you?
Orangepistol.com. That's PISTIL. Like flower. Also over on Instagram, Orange Pistol.
Orange Pistol. That is the best name ever. And it's just
good for search engines.
Yeah. Oh, it really is. It really is. So I'm grateful, you guys, for joining us on Calling All Growers. And I want you both back on the show because there's just too much to talk about. And I know you guys are onto really, really big things. Calling All Growers is produced by Pro Cannabis Media with help from Grow House Media and generous support from our sponsors. I will see you in 2 weeks on July the 27th. That's a Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time for our Calling All Growers hands-on webinar where you get to win, and where you will win a t-shirt giveaway. Okay, because we're going to do that. But you'll get to learn really the techniques from the best growers out there, the tips and tricks. And again, the conversation is happening in the chat room. If you have questions to ask, please don't hesitate to ask. You know how to find these guys. They're super helpful and they just want everyone to win. So y'all, don't be shy. Reach out to Dusty or Matt, if you have questions, or, just get connected to their brands because they really are doing great things for cannabis. And we'd love to have you guys on again. So again, I'll see you in 2 weeks. But until then, this is Calling All Growers, and I'm Liz Grow. Good night, y'all.
Place up, and I'm instantly intrigued. I'm like, what? The yurts. Being the 420 traveler that I am, I Google 420 friendly bed and breakfasts and places, and this place pops up, and I'm instantly intrigued. I'm like, what? It's a yurt in the middle of a golf course. And it's so beautiful. It's like you're in the freaking 420 Shire.
Yes.
And it's 420 friendly.
In the middle of pristine golf course, canvas cottages.
One of the benefits of staying is you get canvas cottages that you can hotbox, and also you get this golf cart. I wish I had mushrooms. That's all I
Go to Palm Springs, Palm Desert, Coachella Valley, go. It's so easy and it's just so much fun.
With those things that we did, those adventures that we went on, there's still more coming. They've been approved for the first coffee shop, cannabis coffee shop. These are really, really exciting things that are pretty cutting edge, and they're happening right out there in that sweet little desert space.
Yeah.
So get your tuchus to Coachella Valley.
Patrick, we slept in a tent last night.
In the middle of a golf course?
Yeah, in the Coachella Valley.
We spent a day doing cannabis adventures, and then we came to a 420 friendly camp out.
Yeah, we definitely hotbox that yurt.
Up top! We're bringing our Crontrage next time.
Yeah, definitely bringing our Crontrage next time.
Some days I'm like, fuck spitting, nah, just kidding. I'm always crashing like my phone cause it's bug ridden.
He's about this tall and he looks like Santa Claus. Bruce is a hoot. I voted for Hillary. I'm still on probation right now. There's Dr. Hardison.
It stands for Regulation Crowdfunding. And what it is, the SEC put together this plan after the Great Recession back in 2008, 2009, where we were bailing out Wall Street, the big bailouts, too big to fail. So we're bailing out huge banks like Bank of America, we're bailing out Ford Motor Company, et cetera, while the little guys on Main Street are closing their doors. Oh, well. And there was so much backlash that initially under the Obama administration, they created this Reg CF plan. And it was so popular and it worked so well that under Trump, they doubled down on it and expanded the program. And what it does is it allows the average retail investor like you and me to be able to invest in pre-IPO companies, basically buy shares of companies. with the Reg CF offering that we're doing, we have basically pretty much gone through all the steps you need to do when you're doing an IPO. Now, we're not sold on the public markets, which is still considered private equity, but you basically buy shares we use the Start Engine platform, and now anybody can go and buy shares. When Facebook first launched, the banks were buying shares at $5 and $10. It IPO'd at 20. I put in a buy offer as just a random Joe retail customer. I put in a buy order the night before. Computers execute instantaneously, right? I think my buy went in at like $34 by computer execution by the time it opened, while the banks got to buy it all at $5 and $10. Well, this allows you and me to be able to buy into these pre-IPO companies at favorable rates.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Hi, everyone. I'm PCM founder Jimmy Young, and you're probably wondering, what am I doing on a growing show? After all, I'm a convicted plant killer. That's why I surround myself with these beautiful plastic babies. But now I have found the secret to all those people out there who just don't want to deal with growing a plant indoors or outdoors. You just don't have enough confidence. Hey, check out greengoddesssupply.com. That's where you'll find the Armoire system. Basically, it's growing for dummies like me. Check it out. The Armoire at greengoddesssupply.com.